Australian Survivor has featured across the course of over 20 years, and with 11 seasons in its catalogue. All of them, as expected, have an insane number of twists. Some are good, some are bad, and some are extremely questionable. So I got my buddy I Am Beans, and together in this video we'll be looking at the worst Australian Survivor twists to ever exist. The worst Australian Survivor twist, in my opinion, is the re-entry challenge in Celebrity Survivor. At the final 3, 2 of the 4 jurors, in a surprise twist, were able to return to the game in a series of mini Redemption Island duels. Except these individuals were also on Ponderosa, meaning they had good food, sleep, and those that returned had 3 locked votes from the jury if they were the only returnee in the final 2. It's extremely unfair and just generally awful game design. Titans vs Rebels, while a beloved season, had an extremely controversial challenge where only 3 contestants could win a ball through game for the right to vote and be immune. Not only is it unfair giving challenge beasts the only option who should stay on a tribe, but the stations weren't properly positioned wide enough, so we sometimes see Kelly's tower knocking over Kirby's. This round also led to the minority getting a 2-1 advantage and caused perhaps the most unfair elimination in AU Survivor history, with Charlie's vote out. The unilateral vote in Brains vs Brawn was no better. Again, only 3 people could win immunity, giving them a vote and safety, but production also kinda lied to the contestants a teensy-wincy amount, since the 3 then had to compete in a fire-making challenge for the right to have the sole vote. Similar to Charlie, this led to the extremely unfair elimination of Baden, who was well situated in the game, and this is a twist I would hate to see return.
Oh my goodness, how'd I get lucky enough to end up on a Bandit Survivor video? Regardless, to all those very confused right now, I am Beans, and I'm here to talk through the dirty, the stinky, the nasty twist in Australian Survivor, starting with self-votes. Yeah, they used to let people vote for themselves for some reason. Self-votes are just really dumb. Just quit? I don't know. I think your vote should be a statement maker in the game. It's the whole point of the show. I don't like the option of not pissing anybody off or burning someone with your vote. And I prefer, if somebody wants to do this, you just call it quits and get out of there instead of wasting our time asking to be voted out. I don't think there's any situation in which self-voting would be considered the best option, therefore it's an awful twist. Quintuple immunity is exactly what it sounds like if you know what quintuple means. Don't worry, I had to look it up, no shame here. This was a twist at the final 9 of Australian Survivor Brains vs Brawn, where 5 people quote-unquote won immunity. And who in their right mind thinks it's a good idea to let 5 of the 9 people be immune for a vote, especially a vote as critical as the final 9 vote. This is the round that gives any alliance the chance to make a move, as it's much easier to swing numbers when there's no risk of a tie vote. Everyone knows this. Final 9, final 7, those are the votes. Letting there be only 4 options for this crucial vote not only will stifle gameplay, but incentivizes a majority to just pick somebody off since the options are so limited. People are less likely to make a move on someone if there's a very good chance their target's going to be immune. Y'all smell that? Yeah, that's the purgatory from Australian Survivor Blood vs Water. The 4 people voted out across 3 rounds are exiled to purgatory, and then they compete in a challenge to win their way back into the game. The kicker of this one is that 3 of the 4 come back, and that is a bridge too far for me. It's even worse than the other exiles or redemptions where only 1 person can return at a time. Especially when you consider how many episodes Australian Survivor airs in a week. You literally just rendered an entire week of the show completely pointless. There's nothing I hate more than a waste of time aside from stubbing my toe, and we're all out of toes to stub, so we're left with this waste of time we're supposed to call a twist.
Don't get me wrong, I quite like the safety without power, but not when it makes half the tribe safe. George uses power in Brains vs Bronze to save himself and Way, the 2 most likely boots, thus screwing Phil in the first round of the game. Additionally, as mentioned by Joey, this is a twist that more times than not just lets you build an instant majority. The twist did return in the following season, although at least KJ could use it at multiple tribals to save a smaller group of people, so it was slightly better in the new form. The secret vote out swap is one of the staples in Australian Survivor, and it sucks. This twist is based on deception, as contestants think they're voting someone out only for it to be revealed at the last possible minute that no, they're actually being swapped to another tribe. While I recognise AU Survivor's need for non-elimination episodes for their schedule, it's this, let's face it, lying to the cast, which makes this twist rank so low. When you make the merge in Survivor, the dream of making the endgame is a real possibility, and even when you're voted out, you at least get to make the jury. So at least in some way, you're there on the show until the end. That being said, AU 2017, as well as Heroes vs Villains, had the juror removal advantage, and in 2017 it allowed Jericho to take out Tessa, one of the main characters of the season, and she went off the jury. Again, this is another non-elimination twist that is needed, but there are far better twists they could implement rather than ruining a contestant's ability to attend the final tribal.
This jury tiebreaker in Celebrity Survivor Australia said hold my beer, and in the event that if the passive votes are also tied, the jury decides who is eliminated. Are we kidding? The jury having any power that is not voting for the winner is a no-no in my eyes, especially with something as powerful as voting somebody out of the game. Taking away agency or power is not inherently bad. Think of like a rock draw. Something that's completely luck-based and gives no power to the players, yet it's beloved because it serves as an equal punishment for everybody who could not come to a consensus. This is anything but fair and is just a nasty, nasty twist that gives power to the people that deserve it the least in that situation. Australian Survivor Heroes vs Villains has a questionable endgame stretch, and the juror removal vote is a major factor for how rocky that was. An entire episode was dedicated to the Final Four voting out one of the jurors from the game, making sure that juror will not be voting for the winner at the end. Where is the fun? An individual worked way too hard to get that far in the game, and it's extremely disheartening to see an individual voted out while already out of the game. This is not necessarily game breaking as much as it's just mean and does not give the good TV I think production thought it would. We waste an entire voting segment deciding what juror we want removed. Who the hell cares? What was AU 2016 cooking with the Build Your Tribe twist? A reward challenge in which the winning tribe can choose to dissolve completely or stick together. And if they do stick together, they get to hand-pick players from the other tribes to join them. I think this one is really egregious in terms of just being imbalanced. I think it's entirely dumb to give a tribe this much power if they choose to stick together, which most of the time they're going to do. That means they can just choose the most physical people and have a huge advantage in challenges. And even if they happen to lose, the OG tribe members can stick together because they already have a built-in alliance. It's a twist that literally cannot backfire if you play it right, and what kind of a twist is that if it's no risk, all reward?
The Dead Man Walking twist may go down as the biggest nothing burger of a twist from AU Survivor ever. Steve, when voted out, was given a talisman, meaning he had to live on Exile Beach, he could not vote for 2 tribal councils, and his only way to survive was by winning immunity challenges or finding advantages. With so many stipulations, most fans would have rather Steve was voted out in the final 7, especially considering the following episode was essentially a carbon copy, with Steve yet again being voted out while being defenseless. Survivor Isolation was a seemingly last-minute twist to account for the medical evacuation at the start of Heroes vs Villains. A tribal, instead of voting a person out, 2 people were instead forced into Survivor Isolation where, well, they were in isolation. They were forced to live in a secluded area of the camp and couldn't compete in the immunity challenge, so really it only served to harm the pacing of the season's endgame more than anything else. The save scroll involved 4 scrolls for up to 4 tribals and involved an eliminated player having to smash one of the urns containing a scroll. If it was a scroll that said safe, the contestant was saved, however if not, the elimination happened as per usual. This twist was so basic, and the contestant who would be safe would be so through no merit of their own, but rather because they got lucky. Additionally, if the last urn had the safe scroll in it, it would lead to complete waste of the tribal, as you knew someone would be guaranteed safe before the torch snuffed.
An extra tribe member sounds lame, but just wait until I explain why this one in particular was even worse. In Celebrity Australian Survivor, after a few days of toughing it out on the island, the first reward/immunity challenge is for Ben. Who is Ben? He was the only non-celebrity on the season, a former soldier who was the only one also not playing for charity, which just causes a ton of problems in itself as far as the game structure goes. And then this, on top of him joining the game a few days late, socially means he was doomed coming into the game. This is just inherently not fair and doesn't bring anything fun to the season itself because it's Ben. Who is Ben? Why is he here? It's completely random, completely unserious, and deserves the criticism that it's getting. Save or Send feels like a twist the producers thought was so genius when preparing the season, and then in action was a massive facepalm. In Australian Survivor Champions vs Contenders, the losing tribe votes somebody out as normal, and the winning tribe attends tribal, and then they get to choose to either save that person and add them to their tribe or send them home. This is just another demented way to take away power from the people casting their votes and gives way too much power to the other tribe. In theory, why would you ever not save them as fodder for your tribe? It's such a no-brainer decision that does nothing but hurt the tribe that originally voted somebody out even more than it already has. And even if the winning tribe sends that person home, nothing. Now the twist is just useless. It's a rare lose-lose, so good job, Australian Survivor. You managed to do that. Has there ever been a more useless twist to ever exist than the Exile beach vote in Australian Survivor All-Stars? With this twist, the two players with the most votes spend the night on Exile, only to return to the game on swap tribes the very next day. I'm not joking, there's nothing else that happens here. This isn't actively bad, but it's not actively good, and wastes everybody's time. It made me mad remembering this happened and Shawnee had to spend a night alone with Zach. That's torture I wish upon nobody.
Why am I getting all the brains versus brawn twists? Oh yeah, they suck. Redemption Island was its own mini Redemption Island, thus saving Baden and then Haley from elimination, who were forced to compete in an endurance challenge to see who could return to the game. The problem is this challenge favoured Haley, as it was dependent on how small your feet were to catch the perch, along with holding up your body weight. Additionally, Haley, a contestant voted out, returns to the game and ends up winning. That sounds a bit familiar to another controversial winner. Celebrity Australian Survivor had a twist to split up the two genders onto opposing tribes, except not really. The men's tribe for some reason got Gabriella later into the game, then the girls' tribe for some reason got Justin. I don't mind the concept of a boys versus girls season, especially if it's just for the first few rounds before a swap, but this is so bizarre and on most seasons would lead to the automatic elimination of the individual with the gender disparity. The tribal council power in All-Stars was picked up by Harry, allowing him to stop one of the two approaching tribal councils. It's a fine twist, but poorly explained, as Harry mentioned after the show that if he knew how the power worked, he would have used it to stop the opposing tribal council and save Nick. Really, I can see why production hasn't brought this back, and I don't think we will ever see it back.
The ability to transfer advantages post-elimination needs to find a hole and bury itself in it. For some reason, it was allowed for a while for people with advantages to be able to just transfer those advantages to the other players after they get footed out. This is such a brain-dead twist and hurts my little strategic-filled heart. The advantage should be null and out of play if it's in the pocket of the person eliminated. There's strategy if you want to swap around advantages among your alliances and at least take some strategic thinking and foresight, but this just feels stupid and unfair to those who just pulled off a major blindside good enough that the person didn't even consider using an idol or an advantage. It's dumb. Take your loss and go home. What is there to possibly say about a celebrity cast, which is what's next on the list? It has a fun concept of allowing celebrities and recognizable faces from all over Australia to compete and play Survivor. Survivor might be the one show we do not need a celebrity season of, unless they're really committed to the bit. If we're gonna get celebrities quitting damn Big Brother, you know Survivor's set up to fail. And in my opinion, from the season that aired, fail it did. The Saboteur is so whatever and gets saved by being really funny. This is the twist in Titans vs Rebels that had the losing tribe vote to send somebody over to try and sabotage. That person needs to have their new tribe lose immunity and then they get to switch back over to their original tribe. However, if they fail, they're stuck on that new tribe. and I just don't really like vote outs that aren't really vote outs. This one at least gave us something fun practically with Kelly existing, but oh my god, this is a dud 99% of the time, and even in this scenario, it's not very memorable.
Pandora's Urn is an epic sounding twist for something that really isn't all that special. Due to Jackie and George both potentially being medically evacuated, production clearly wanted a non-elimination episode and said that with this Pandora's Urn twist, the villains could stop the tribal to save one of their own or continue with the vote, but it had to be unanimous. I mean, the villains still continued anyway, including the eventual person voted out because they're mad lads, but honestly I forgot this twist existed, and I'm sure you did too. While I appreciate ingenuity, the two-part hidden immunity idol is a bit too over-engineered for my taste. In Australian Survivor 2017, in a non-elimination episode, Ziggy was gifted the ultimate opportunity to gain power for her tribe. This advantage was a hidden immunity idol combined with an idol nullifier, which screwed Annalise out of the game after she had a correct idol play at the merge. So next time you hate on the idol nullifier, just remember it could have been so much worse. Like this much worse. Australian Survivor 2016 was a bit ahead of the curve, as one of its twists were very similar to Survivor US, where contestants eliminated in each challenge section were sent to different locations respectively. The 4 losers of the challenge were made to spend the night at Exile Island, which disrupted communications between contestants, but also, for some reason, the losers were weirdly rewarded for being bad, as the Exile beach had its own idol that was hidden which the contestants could find.
The 48-hour mission is almost identical to the Saboteur, but a little less imbalanced. You're voting to send somebody to the other tribe, but if they specifically can survive 1 round of gameplay, they will be given the option to return to their original tribe. At least with other things like kidnappings and mutinies, even though those can disrupt the game flow, they feel more impactful and fun than this twist, which just feels like nothing in comparison. When the player heads back to their tribe, why do I care? What was all of this for? It's an empty feeling that leaves this very low on the list because you do not want a twist giving you an empty feeling. Champions vs Contenders 1 and 2 really loved their Exile Beach twists, while most of us really did not. This had the 2 voted out players over 2 rounds compete in a duel where the winning player re-enters the game. I don't really like these type of temporary Redemption Island twists, since at least with Redemption Island in itself, it's a pre-established twist that is part of the format. This twist though, it just kind of inserts itself in arbitrarily, and while it at least forces someone to earn their way back into the game, it's still kind of just a way to stretch out the episodes. Plus, it just kind of delays the inevitable for who's going to return, as that person is probably not making it very far in the game, so yeah, it's not that good of a twist. Trial by fire was just a lame excuse to try and give the people on the bottom a chance. The twist gave everybody the opportunity to stop the vote and compete in a fire-making challenge against somebody that is unanimously chosen by the rest of the tribe. If the person who initiated the twist wins, nobody goes home. However, if they lose, they are then eliminated. This one sucks because it's just way too arbitrary and purposely is there to lengthen the game. There are other fire-making twists out there that at least involve a weird way in which fire-making is incorporated, or some sort of advantage that is to be earned, but this one just leaves me empty, and like I've been saying, you don't want to be empty after a twist.
Whichever tribe wins a coin flip gets to pick what camp they're on. One camp has a better water source, and the other camp has a better food source. This is similar to a twist in Survivor Thailand, and in regards to that, I don't care. This isn't what I watch Survivor for. It barely plays an impact on the season, and so ranks here near the bottom of the worst list. Unsurprisingly, we have yet another kidnap twist in, well, Kidnap. The opposing tribe representative in 2016 got to pick to kidnap someone from the losing tribe to bring onto their tribe, thus cancelling the opposing tribe's tribal council. There are slightly better versions, as overall I feel picking a representative is a bit odd and would not fly in such a strategic focused era like now, but overall it gives the contestants some power in a twist, which is a small improvement over some others. In Australian Survivor Titans vs Rebels, its second non-elimination episode featured a vote out swap draw where every contestant that received received a vote, whether a majority or minority, had to put their hand into a bag of rocks, and whoever picked the correct one swapped tribes. It's fine, I guess. It's very similar to other twists we've seen, just that the rock draw has RNG, which can mess with some people's strategies, but as a one-time twist, it wasn't that egregious.
The Food Prisoner's Dilemma was a more complex game of split or steal. Two players are given a meal that they can choose to split with their tribe or steal all to themselves. If one person chooses to split on a tribe and the other chooses to steal, the person who steals will get the entire meal to themselves. Yeah, this twist makes no sense and has very little game impact and just isn't good TV anyways. This twist isn't harming anybody, I promise you. Nobody's running to Reddit to moan and whine about this twist, but there's no spunk in this twist, and that's just a damn shame. You caught me. I don't really like dilemma twists. They're not fun. And the more dilemma twist in AU 2017 is whatever. A tribe member gets to choose between an item for themselves or an item for their tribe. In this case, it's a jar of cookies versus firewood. Again, the twist should be doing nothing for me, and I can basically repeat everything I just said. But this one in particular at least had Jericho and his cookies. He's the cookie monster for a reason, so for that reason alone, this can rank higher, but you know, who cares?
The Kidnap vote allowed the winning tribe to vote for who they wanted from the losing tribe to join their tribe at tribal council. It's a non-elimination twist, so of course I can't rank it too high, but the inclusion of giving contestants actual power with their votes and not revealing the twist before it's too late are factors I can appreciate. The final twist we'll be covering in this video, the best of the worst if you will, is the multi-reward challenge from AU 2016. It's a twist on the challenge format which is fine, but due to it having 3 stages that are all quite long in their own right, it comes off as a bit of obvious filler for the show, and honestly coming out of it I would have rather had one regular challenge which is more consistent and generally takes up less time. But subscribe if you enjoyed, and don't forget to comment down below if you would have ranked any twist differently. Also please remember as well that this is just part 1 and part 2 is on Beans' channel where we will discuss the better half of AU twists. Nevertheless, have a good day and peace!